G'day viewers, day 3 of YoLogger Day week. It's Friday afternoon my time, finished work. I'm going to have some dinner after I do this. And for today's little chat, I thought I'd talk about a theme that recurs for a lot of people online, the idea of the haters, being attacked online, and even just feedback generally actually. Now I have addressed this a few times because I have a lot of experience with it, and I'm not particularly bothered by the people who come on with the hater attitudes. I normally treat them as sport and have a bit of fun with them, but a lot of people are really quite confronted and rattled by it, which is of course what the haters want. They want to have an effect on people, and so I've made a few videos in the past mainly as messages of support for people who are feeling a bit hard done by. And that is one thing I always specify when I make videos. People saying, "Oh, well, if you don't care about haters, why are you talking about them?" Because it isn't about them. It's about the people who are on the receiving end. And that's what I always like to stress to people with, how should you react to a hater being attacked? You should react however you want to, because it's about you, not about the person launching the attack on you. If you want to have a go at them, like I've been known to, because you find it fun, go ahead, do that, but on your terms. If you want to just ignore it and let it slide, treat it like a joke, or just pretend it's not there because that's what works for you, good, do that on your terms. If you want to delete their comments, block them from ever commenting again, good, your terms. And oh look, never, never, never listen to the whining, bleating, worthless little pieces of shit who go, "Oh, free speech, you're censoring me." There's a big fucking wide internet out there. They can go and have all the free speech they want. Free speech does not mean you putting up with someone else's shit. It's as simple as that. If you set up a domain for yourself, whether it's a blog, making videos on YouTube, Vloggerheads, anywhere else, even on message boards, if you're setting up a space for yourself, you have the right to manage that however you want. And yes, some people will do the dreaded, "I'm going to unsubscribe or stop reading or unfollow on Twitter or whatever because of the mean thing you said or because of the restriction." Oh, so fucking what? Go, leave, piss off, fuck off, I hate you, I never want to see you again. Okay? So the idea that I'm going to change how I feel and what my standards are because I'm worried about losing a subscriber, I mean, screw that. You can't let other people define who you are. It really doesn't work. You will drive yourself crazy, not even in a good way. You can't let people's good feedback or attempts at good feedback or feedback they think is being positive, you can't let that define you, because it will drive you crazy. Because 100 people will have 100 conflicting pieces of advice for you. I mean, read them if you want, listen to them, take them in, but make the decisions, whatever they may be, on your own terms. So I always say to people when I say I'm not going to follow their advice on something and they want to know why not, so well, if I'm going to fail, I want to fail on my own terms because I learn that way. Even if not following someone's advice, I find out later, oh, it probably would have worked if I listened to them. But what I really don't want to waste my life doing is not following my instincts and following what someone else suggests and having that fail. If I'm going to fail, it's going to be on my terms, not because I wouldn't, stick to my own integrity and I followed what someone else said I should do. So, yeah, I love getting positive reinforcement, but even when people think they're being constructive, it's almost never helpful. Which is not to say don't do it. People, you're free to do whatever you want. You leave whatever sort of comment you want. How I choose to conduct myself, of course there are repercussions. People say, as I was saying before, oh, if you say that or block me or do that or take this attitude, I'll unsubscribe. And yeah, when I make decisions, I'm aware that there are repercussions to those decisions, which is why I always make them on my terms. So yeah, people, you can make whatever sort of comment you want, and I'll either respond or not. And I'll just illustrate once more that thing about thinking you're being constructive. A friend of mine who I think has made one of the best ever videos on YouTube. I'm not going to go into specifics, but they made one video in particular that I think is one of the best I've ever seen. And the ending, they put something on the ending that to me changed the whole mood of the piece. It was inconsistent with the rest of the... Man, I've got a siren in the background and I've got cats fighting over here. This is what happens when you do outdoor yo-logs. Anyway, so this friend of mine, on this one particular video, the ending, there's a bit to me that felt tacked on, and I think it really detracted from the rest of the video. The whole video is still brilliant, but I think it would have actually been better without this bit at the end. And I did consider saying that to them, like putting a comment like that was great, but you know, the end didn't do it for me. But I thought, who the fuck am I? And it's not like they can take it down. You know, it was up on YouTube, being watched a lot. It was featured globally, actually. And it's not like they could change it. They couldn't take out that scene. If they asked me, if they directly asked me, is there anything I'd change, then I'd answer, but I'm not going to volunteer it. It's not my place. I just feel compelled to say this isn't Mr. Safety, by the way. Just suddenly occurred to me, I'm being all cryptic, and I said a friend featured, lots of people watched it. People might go, oh, are you talking about Mr. Safety? No, I'm not. It's someone else. And don't go, is it this person? I'm not going to answer any more questions about, is it that person or that person? I just thought people might leap to that conclusion. So I'm ruling that out. So, yeah, go for it with constructive, what you think is constructive feedback if you want. It's unlikely I will ever change what I'm doing based on what someone tells me. Now, the reason I actually started with this today, I'm going to provide a link in the usual place to a really interesting, good article was on Boing Boing from their guest blogger, Danny Chu, just the other day about dealing with haters. And it's titled To the Hated, which is kind of funny. It's the first time I thought, if we call them haters, that's calling ourselves the hated, which is pretty weird when you think of it. Anyway, it's got a lot of interesting insights about both real life and online haters. And I'm not going to bother to reiterate them. Go read it. It's slightly long, couple hundred words. You can deal. It's not a novel. I know I was telling you to read novels yesterday, but this is just a longish blog post. And it's worth reading. And I'm not going to reiterate his points, but I'm going to throw in two more of my own, stuff that he didn't cover. People often throw on, why is behaviour so much worse online? And the thing people usually say is, oh, no barriers, no repercussions. And I think that's largely true. But to me, the interesting thing is, well, why does it affect people so much if it's, you know, not real, it's just on a screen? In fact, a friend of mine raised this. He'd run bulletin boards for years and he was a moderator. And he often had to talk people down when they were getting really angry. And one of his things is saying, it's just phosphor on a screen. It isn't real. If you switch the computer off, it isn't there anymore. Don't take it personally. Don't get worked up. Which is good advice, but it's an interesting thought. Why do people get so affected by haters online? And I think one thing is people actually slip into this false sense of it's not real, because not only would these haters who are, you know, gutless pieces of shit to a person not accost someone in real life, but in real life we have barriers up. You know, you have either unconscious or quite conscious barriers between you and other people, so it's harder for them to impinge on your reality. But I think a lot of people, when they go online, because, you know, it's not real, they actually drop that natural defense. And without realising it, it actually makes them more susceptible to someone having a go at them, because your natural defences weren't in place. You were a lot more unguarded, so when they snuck the personal thing, or didn't sneak, they shot the personal thing in there, it has more effect than it might otherwise have. Not that I'm saying we should all be completely defensive online, it's just a theory I have. And I'm going to round off some stuff I am going to read, because it's from Ricky Gervais's blog, and I'm going to read it because he doesn't use proper blogging software and you can't link to specific parts of it. You can just link to the homepage in the blog, so you might not be able to find this stuff easily. Yeah, go and use proper blog software, Ricky, which is completely contradicting everything I said. But whatever, because he started off going off at people who criticise and expect to be taken notice of, but he even talked about supposed positive feedback as well. I'm going to read a few bits. He's saying he's thinking of putting up a warning before people read the blog, because he swears heaps. It's quite hilarious. If you know him from TV, you know, like Extras and The Office, the original British version of The Office, but if you've ever seen any of his live shows, swears like a trooper, and he does on the blog too. And being a person who finds swearing humorous, I like that. But saying for people who might get offended, he should have a warning, something like, I enter this blog knowing there will be swear words and politically incorrect terms of abuse that may make me cry if I'm a little nonce. I won't write to the papers, as it's fuck all to do with them. I won't complain to the BBC either, as it's fuck all to do with them. In fact, even if I find something so offensive that it puts me in a tears, I will bite my tongue. Or a lovely big cock, whichever's tastier to me or works as a better pacifier. I may well find things that I don't find funny, but promise I won't try to deconstruct the so-called humour on forums read by 12 other losers, as that would be as constructive as writing things in shit on a toilet wall. No, instead, I will show Ricky how comedy should be done and become more successful than him, as the best revenge is living well. And that is absolutely spot on. When I'm feeling magnanimous to people who tell me that my stuff's shit, I say, beaut. Barrier to entry on YouTube, close to zero. You get out and show me how it's done. They never do. Of course, it's slightly more a challenge for Ricky Gervais. Humour is subjective. I happen to think he's one of the funniest people in the world at the moment. Pretty hard to be funnier than him. Way easier to be funnier than me. So, you know, if you think my stuff sucks, prove it. Go out and do better. And so he goes on for a bit. And he finishes with, actually, I don't want to warn anyone. Fuck them. And then he followed up a day later, just saying people who leave negative messages on forums are usually deficient in some way. And so why pay attention to them? Because you wouldn't go around reading toilet walls, would you? And you certainly wouldn't bother replying to comments made on that toilet wall unless you're a right fucking div. He uses great English slang, by the way. And then he followed up again after that. He went on at much more length than that. A day or so later, he said, I hope I didn't offend anyone with my last blog entry. He said it wasn't aimed at anyone in particular, no particular forum or fan site, because he doesn't read them, so he can't be talking about anyone in particular. He said he did a couple of years ago, and as sweet and flattering as it wasn't healthy. With everyone in the world having strong and completely different opinions on the minutiae of your work, it might start influencing your decisions. It might, yeah, and that's why I was saying before, I don't take it on, because I can't. It's just not sensible. And he says he appreciates that fans have views on his work. He just doesn't want to hear them. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean I don't take notes. I don't take notes from the BBC, HBO, or anyone else. It's not that I think I know better than everyone else in the world. It's just that I feel the best work is never done by committee or pandering to the most popular suggestions. I think I have the best fans in the world. That's one thing I have in common with Ricky Gervais. I think I have the best fans in the world. The stuff I've produced over the past few years could never have been the success it was without the initial dedication of the hardcore few. I'm still there. I just have a dedicated hardcore few. So here's to the future, guys. And his final thing is, this is the sort of stuff he often does on his blog. He finishes by saying, however, I wouldn't want to be stuck in the lift with them. Only joking. No, really, they're mental. It's a joke. Freaks. He actually gets way worse than that in some blogs, particularly when he's telling people if they don't like swearing, they should fuck off. Yeah, I find his blog well worth reading. Unfortunately, I can't link to specific things. That's where I read those bits to you. He gets to complain about people using his stuff online, illegally downloading as well. So that is today's little talk on haters. That probably went longer than I meant it to. There'll be a link to the article on Boing Boing I was talking to, and I will see you again tomorrow.